Every person reading this is descended from a group of approximately 1,280 individuals. Not a city, not a tribe. 1,280 breeding people. At some point between 930,000 and 813,000 years ago, that was all that was left of the entire human lineage. The evidence for this is not fossil records or ancient ruins. It is written in your DNA right now, and researchers only found it in 2023. The evidence hidden in your DNA. In August 2023, a study published in the journal Science analyzed the genetic data of 3,154 modern humans from populations across Africa and the world, using a newly developed statistical method called FitCoal, Fast Infinitesimal Time Coalescent Process. The method was designed specifically to reconstruct population size changes far deeper in time than previous genetic analysis tools could reach. What it found was unexpected. Buried in the genomes of every modern human examined was the signature of a catastrophic population collapse, a point in the distant past where the genetic diversity of the entire human lineage was compressed through an extraordinarily narrow window. The signal was present in all 10 African populations studied, and in all 19 non-African populations in the 1,000 Genomes Project. It was universal. Every human being alive today carries the genetic signature of this event. The first near-extinction, 930,000 years ago. Before it, the ancestral population was estimated at roughly 98,000 to 100,000 individuals. During the bottleneck, the effective population, the number of individuals who successfully bred and passed on their genes, collapsed to approximately 1,280,000. That represents a loss of 98.7% of the breeding population. The bottleneck then persisted for approximately 117,000 years. To put that in context, 117,000 years is longer than the entire existence of anatomically modern Homo sapiens history. The entire human lineage survived as a group smaller than many village populations today, for a duration longer than our own species has existed. The study's authors noted that this bottleneck was so severe, it likely contributed to the loss of approximately 2/3 of the genetic diversity that existed in human ancestors before it began. What caused it? The cause of the 930,000-year bottleneck remains unknown. No confirmed single event has been identified. The leading hypothesis is that the period coincided with a major climatic transition, the early to middle Pleistocene transition, during which Africa's climate became dramatically colder and drier, destroying vegetation, food sources, and habitats simultaneously across the continent. This climatic shift would have reduced the carrying capacity of the environment drastically, starving out populations that had no technological means to compensate. What is notable is that despite 117,000 years of this pressure, the lineage did not disappear. It contracted to its minimum viable size and held there, generation after generation, for longer than the modern human species has been alive. The chromosome connection. The timing of the bottleneck coincides with another confirmed biological event, the point at which human ancestors appear to have lost one pair of chromosomes. Other great apes, chimpanzees, gorillas, orangutans, have 48 chromosomes. Modern humans have 46. At some point in the human lineage, two ancestral chromosomes fused into what is now human chromosome 2. Genetic analysis places this fusion event within or near the period of the 930,000-year bottleneck. In a small, isolated population, which is exactly what the bottleneck created, a chromosomal mutation can spread through the entire group within a relatively small number of generations if it carries even a slight advantage, or if the group is small enough for random genetic drift to fix it. The bottleneck may not only have nearly ended the human lineage, it may have been the specific condition that allowed one of the most significant genetic changes in human evolutionary history to spread and become universal. How they survived. What ended the bottleneck is as significant as what caused it. Around 813,000 years ago, the ancestral population began a rapid expansion. In African populations, the study detected an approximately 20-fold increase in population size within a relatively short geological timeframe. The authors point to two possible factors. The first is climate improvement. The severe cold and dry period that may have caused the bottleneck appears to have moderated, restoring the environmental conditions that could support larger populations. The second is more significant. Archaeological evidence from Israel places the earliest confirmed control of fire at approximately 790,000 years ago, directly coinciding with the end of the bottleneck and the beginning of the population rebound. The ability to cook food, stay warm, and survive in colder and more challenging environments may have been the specific technological development that ended 117,000 years of near extinction.
The second near extinction. Approximately 74,000 years ago, the Toba supervolcano in what is now Indonesia produced one of the largest eruptions in the past 2.5 million years. An estimated 1,700 cubic miles of material was ejected, a volume comparable to nearly 3 million Empire State Buildings. Ash spread across the atmosphere globally, partially blocking sunlight. Temperatures worldwide are estimated to have dropped by 3 to 5 degrees Celsius during a volcanic winter that may have lasted up to 6 years. The Toba catastrophe hypothesis, first proposed in 1998, suggested that this event drove the global human population down to fewer than 10,000 individuals and produced a second genetic bottleneck visible in modern DNA. This hypothesis is supported by the observation that non-African populations show significantly reduced genetic diversity compared to African populations, consistent with a severe reduction in the founding population that migrated out of Africa around or after this period.
What the Toba evidence actually shows. The Toba catastrophe hypothesis is significantly more contested than the 930,000-year bottleneck. Archaeological evidence from multiple sites in India, southern Africa, and Southeast Asia has been found both below and above the Toba ash layer, suggesting that human populations in these regions survived the eruption and continue to occupy the same environments immediately afterward. A comprehensive review published in the Journal of Human Evolution concluded that the evidence for a catastrophic human population decline specifically caused by Toba is currently unsupported, noting that human populations were already relatively low before the eruption and had been declining for longer than the Toba event could account for. What the Toba evidence does confirm is that early humans were significantly more resilient than the catastrophe hypothesis assumed, adapting to what was genuinely one of the most extreme environmental disruptions of the past million years without disappearing.
What it means that you exist. Every person alive today is descended from the 1,280 breeding individuals who held the entire human lineage together for 117,000 years. Every language, every culture, every genome on Earth traces back through that narrow window. The genetic diversity of the modern human species across all 8 billion people currently living was shaped by whoever those 1,280 people were, where they lived, what they could eat, and what killed the others. We do not know their names. We do not know their location. We do not know whether they knew each other or were separated across a fragmented continent. We only know they survived, because if they had not, the question would never have been asked.